Who is the king of the Mushroom Kingdom?
Yeah, they have a princess that rules over the Mushroom Kingdom, but no king.
Or queen.
Right, why is a princess the ruler?
There used to be a king in the Mushroom Kingdom, though. Back in the Japanese comics, King Toadstool, or the Mushroom King, he used to be called.
Well, that makes sense. That must be Peach's dad, right?
That was who he was, yeah, Peach's dad. But in the movie, he's not addressed at all. There's no Mushroom King, so that's just not canon.
He still has to be alive, otherwise Princess Peach would be elevated to queen.
I don't know. I think there's only just a princess. And that opens the door up for Mario. Mario's gonna be the Mushroom King.
How? How would that work?
He's gonna get with Peach. At some point, that's what they were leading to the whole movie.
But wouldn't that make him a prince if he were to, like, marry a princess?
Yeah, that's true.
Unless that's why Princess Peach is a princess, because she can only become a queen
right.
once she finds her king.
So once they get together, they become Mushroom King and Queen, Mario and Peach.
Maybe that's the answer.
But does it get to that point?
I think so. Mario was putting the moves on her in the movie.
I don't know. Mario's got a long way to go. It might be like 6 movies deep and he hasn't made a move yet.
Well, if there's one person fitting of the king title, I think it's Mario.
I mean, it's not like they're going to give it to anyone else.
I mean, realistically, they should give it to a Toad. If everyone's Toads, they should have a Toad ruler.
Yeah, Toadsworth. They didn't even put him in the movie either.
You know what's even worse? They're cutting Toadsworth out of everything Mario.
Yeah, it's been, what, a decade?
Nintendo is writing Toadsworth out of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. The remake. He's not even in the remake anymore.
Really? I thought I saw him.
In the original game, Toadsworth greets Mario and Goombella in Rogueport, and his dialogue is the trigger for these Craws to get attacked by the Pianta mob. But in the new trailer, Mario and Goombella are standing there, and the Craws are in the scene. That was supposed to be triggered by Toadsworth. So yeah. Toadsworth is nowhere to be seen, and the trigger for these Craws to come into the scene are there.
So he's gone. They wrote him out.
Exactly. They already passed the scene where Toadsworth would come in, so he must not be in the game.
They wrote him out of the movie. They wrote him out of the remake of an old game. They want nothing to do with Toadsworth, and I think I know why. It's because Miyamoto does not want Toads to age.
Now that you say that, all the Toads look the same, especially in the movie.
In the movie, everyone was the exact same, just different colors. No old Toads, no young Toads.
Yeah,
there was a Toad with glasses.
Even the wise Toad, that Toad with glasses.
Right, that guy.
He just had like a baritone voice and a squinty eyes. No age, no wrinkles, no mustache.
And Miyamoto sent like strict plans for the Paper Mario games, the recent Paper Mario games, to not change anything about the Toads. All Toads were to be the exact same, just slightly different colors. And they had to stick to that in the new games. So that can only mean Miyamoto has changed the lore to making Toads ageless. So when they sprout from the ground, they're just a full-grown Toad now.
Yeah, no more kid Toads like we saw in the Paper Mario games of the first two. No more Toadsworth. That's why they're cutting him out.
Yeah, because there would be no explanation for that. So does that mean Toads live forever?
Or do they just come out of the ground and go into the ground the same?
Yeah, do they revert back to being a mushroom? Is that what all those mushrooms in the forest are? Dead Toads.
Maybe it's just a cycle where it goes mushroom to Toad, back to mushroom, back to Toad, back to mushroom, back to Toad.
Yeah, jeez. It's kind of dark. Speaking of dark, they at least put the Noose back into Paper Mario. The Thousand Year Door, that Noose.
Yeah, I cannot believe that.
Crazy.
Like, I get they wanted to keep it similar to the original, but to have a Noose at the front and center in the game still?
In the main map, too.
Yeah, that's
Rogueport.
That's right out in the open.
Why would they do that, though? They never explained why there's a Noose in Rogueport. So I looked into it. I think it's because the 4 heroes that came together to defeat the Shadow Queen, I think they hung the Shadow Queen because she was a witch. That was the main method of killing witches back in the day, was to hang them.
Right, if they were guilty of being a witch, they got sent to the Noose.
It might have been the only way for them to take down the Shadow Queen, because the Noose is centered right above the Shadow Queen's grave, all the way down into the Pit of 100 Trials. So it had to signify something related to the Shadow Queen and her death.
Yeah, so in reality, that Noose is actually a staple to the game. because it drives the whole story.
I just wonder if it's the same Noose that's been there for 1,000 years, or just a memorial. Has to be a memorial, right?
There's no way they're still using that thing. That would be too dark for a Mario game.
Hey, there's some shady characters walking around that place. How many times have you watched the Mario movie so far?
Honestly, not as many as you would think. Maybe 3 or 4.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of clips of it. I will say that.
Yeah, because we have to edit.
Yeah, all the way through about 3 or 4 times.
You know what caught my eye is like there was no Lakitu. Could he have been just the guy behind the screen?
Well, there were those the Spinies. They were there, and that's the thing that Lakitu throws. So why are those things in the movie and not Lakitu?
Goombas! Whatever those things are!
Well, those things are actually Lakitu's children.
But they look nothing like him.
But it's hard to see under those spiny shells what they really are. So Bowser doesn't even know.
Yeah.
But in the Japanese movie, the very first Mario movie, Lakitu says that they're his children. His offspring.
Maybe it's in like a metaphorical sense, like Bowser called the Koopalings his children, but they weren't really his children.
Well, that was a Miyamoto decision. They were his children originally, and then they weren't. But
I guess it makes sense because those Spinies have to grow into something, right? Like they're so small in that shell.
yeah, that can't be it for them.
Right, that's not their final growth spurt is this tiny little thing.
Because they're not really Koopas. You can't call them Koopas.
No.
It makes sense to be a Lakitu as their final evolution. Maybe they're like a Pokemon.
But where do they get the cloud? That's what I want to know.
Maybe when they die, Mario takes them out. They go from Spiny Shell to Lakitu.
Blind rank these 5 Mario characters. Mario.
1.
Wow.
That's an obvious 1 for me.
But now you don't have that one spot for the rest of the list.
That's my favorite character. He's
All
the
right.
greatest character of all time.
All right, we'll see.
Nothing beats Super Mario.
Yoshi.
I'm going number 3. I gotta
3.
save 2 for somebody special.
Okay.
But Yoshi deserves a 3 spot.
Wiggler.
5.
Wow.
I'm not a Wiggler guy, man.
Ouch.
Is that a creepy looking Caterpie?
I'd say a Weedle more so than a Caterpie.
Yeah, definitely.
Paper Mario.
Oh, wow. You're gonna really do that to me?
That's what was on the list.
Number 2.
Behind Mario? Wow, not number 1.
Yeah.
See, that's why I say.
Hey, I'll still put Movie Mario number 1.
Okay.
So let's consider that first Mario Movie Mario.
Okay. Your number 4 spot, the last one, is Lakitu.
Okay, I'll take that. I'm happy with that. It's not that bad.
Not a bad list at all.
I was waiting for Bowser to get number 2 spot. I think Dr. Eggman is a robot.
Well, I know he's good with robots, but he's clearly a human.
But he never dies. How many times has Sonic beaten Dr. Eggman?
He has gone off into a couple explosions, I know that.
And every single time he survives it. And his name? His old name? Well, it's actually his real name. Dr. Robotnik. Robotnik. Eggman's just a nickname.
Yeah, Sonic called him that, and then it just kind of stuck.
Even his body shape. It's not human-like. It's like a capsule. There could be someone inside there. Maybe a Chow is running Dr. Eggman.
I'm still not sure, because I know in the games he has a father. But is his father just his creator that built him?
It's possible. Or maybe he is the son. His creation, Dr. Eggman.
Yeah, because he was able to create Shadow, which is a living being. So why wouldn't he be able to create Dr. Robotnik, this humanoid-looking robot?
And he's always wearing those glasses, at least in the games. He's always got the glasses on, and another pair of glasses right on top. Could those be his real eyes, like the robot eyes?
Yeah, and what's that big mustache covering up?
Where did Professor Oak get Pikachu from?
Did he capture him? Or breed him?
Well, we know that Pikachu was originally a Pichu that was an orphan, and he had a Kangaskhan for a mother. When Pichu finally starts to grow out of it, he starts to realize he doesn't really belong with Kangaskhan's. He wanders off and he evolves into Pikachu. But we don't know how Professor Oak gets Pikachu next. I think he's Red's Pikachu.
What do you mean?
Ash's Pikachu is Red's Pikachu. Just handed off through Professor Oak. Because in the last episode of Pokemon Generations, Red does catch his Pikachu. So we know that as a fact. And he trains it all the way up to a very strong Pokemon. And when Ash gets his Pikachu from Oak, Oak says that Pikachu's like special. And even the Pokeball that Pikachu is in has a special engraving of like a lightning symbol that you don't see on any other Pokeballs for any other Pokemon. So you had to know there was something special about this Pikachu. And we already know this Pikachu's power level is insane right off the bat when Ash gets him.
Right, he's doing some crazy moves that he should not be doing.
I think it's pretty cut and dry that that's Red's Pikachu.
I guess that really ties the story together pretty nicely from the transition from Red to Ash, with the ceremonial handoff,
Yeah.
the passing of the torch.
And kind of fits the narrative that Ash is just a clone of Red. That's why he can bond so well with Pikachu.
I finally figured out why no one eats at Plankton's restaurant.
Because it's dirty, right?
No! It's the same reason why everyone in Bikini Bottom thinks he's a bad guy. Even though all he does is just own a restaurant. Why is he such a bad guy in everyone's eyes? It's because the main ingredient of all of his food is chum.
So?
Do you know what chum is?
Trash.
It's fish body parts. So he's trying to serve the fish of Bikini Bottom their own kind.
Well, how do you know that, though?
He says all of his... It's the chum bucket. And he serves chum dogs, chum burgers.
Where does he get the fish?
I don't know.
That's why he's a bad dude.
Does he dig up people's graves? Does he kill these people? I don't know, but what I do know is in his food, you can even see eyes sometimes. You can see organs. And any fish that eats the chum automatically gets sick. Because
Cannibals.
Exactly. They can't handle the cannibalism. Plankton is just a sick, sick man trying to feed these fish their own people.
Hey, Crab's doing the same thing over there with the Krabby Patty.
Luckily, Mr. Krabs isn't serving any crabs.
So he says.
I don't know why, but I've just been getting into all of this dark stuff about SpongeBob and about old cartoons and old movies. Like Peter Pan. The original Peter Pan is so dark.
Yeah, like the OG they took the material from.
Yeah, the 1904 version or whenever it's from. The Disney version, Peter takes these kids off to Neverland where they never grow. But in the original version, Peter's basically the angel of death. He kidnaps these children by promising them they'll never grow up. And he takes them to his lair pretty much because he's so obsessed with youth and staying young forever. And he wants to be around youth all the time. And then when he sees these kids start to age or mature, he kills them.
Oh, what?
To live up to his promise that they'll never age. He won't let them. So he takes it into his own hands.
That's in the source material?
That's in the source material. He can't handle
Jeez.
adults. He hates adults, and that's why he attacks Captain Hook and the pirates.
Yeah, isn't Captain Hook the good guy?
Yes, Captain Hook knows what Peter Pan is doing to these children, so he's trying to save these naive, innocent children from going back with Peter Pan to Neverland.
Yeah, One Piece has convinced me that pirates are actually like the good guys.
At least in Peter Pan's case. Peter Pan has me screwed up the way he's just... Like, I never viewed Peter Pan as a murderer until now.
I always thought Peter Pan was pretty creepy. They have some weird things going on involving little boys.
Why he loves youth and little children so much. It's really creepy.
Yeah. All of Disney's kind of weird.
Yeah. Peter Pan was the angel of death in the original source material of that movie, but there's another angel of death in another Pixar movie.
Angel of Death?
It's in the movie Up.
Oh, I like that movie too.
Well, Up is even more heartbreaking than you realize. Because not only does Ellie die in the opening act, but Carl dies then too.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so normally when old couples age and one of them dies, the other one pretty much dies of heartbreak a year, maybe 2 years later. And Carl, growing up his whole life with Ellie, from kids to marriage to old age, he couldn't handle that heartbreak. And so he lashed out. And because of that lash out, these caretakers were going to take his home away, his last grasp of Ellie, and bring him to a home.
Well, how'd he die?
He panicked, and he ended up having a heart attack in his sleep. Because when he wakes up the next day, and the caretakers try to take him, he unleashes all of these balloons, and he starts to drift up to the sky. That's him going up into the afterlife. And who's
But how come the kid's there with him?
Well, who's randomly at the porch? The little kid, Russell, who happens to be a scout. But he's actually an angel trying to earn his wings. But he tells Carl that he's a scout trying to earn his last badge. It's Russell's mission.
His last duty to take Carl to heaven.
Right, to cross him to the other side. And where is Carl going? To Paradise Falls. But the true Paradise Falls is heaven. And he can only get there by finally letting go of his past life, which is when he inevitably lets go of his house and he goes off to Paradise Falls.
That actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I just think there's levels to that movie.
Yeah. I would rank it maybe number 2 Pixar movie.
I don't know.
After WALL-E. WALL-E's number 1.
True, WALL-E's good. I think my top 3, 4 would probably be like, I think I gotta go Up 1.
What?
WALL-E 2.
It's not that good.
Are you kidding me? That opening scene with the piano playing and everything.
That's it though. It kind of like goes down. It like starts high and goes down.
But you can't forget the OGs, Monsters Inc. and Incredibles.
I don't like either of them that much.
Are you kidding me?
I'm more of a Finding Nemo guy. I'd put Finding Nemo up at 1 or 2.
Well, you're gonna hate me for what I'm about to say. There's actually a crossover between Incredibles and Monsters Inc.
Really?
And it spans years. In the second Incredibles movie, Jack, the baby, finds his powers, but he has too many of them. He sets himself on fire, he can turn invisible, he can multiply, but most importantly, he can travel through other dimensions, and he can shoot laser eyes.
It's the baby, right?
Yeah, the baby. And at one point, Jack shows off his superpower where he travels to another dimension. And then all of a sudden, you go back to the original Monsters Inc. movie, and they're having a hectic news scene. And one of the monsters says, a little kid just appeared and shot laser beams at a car. So that has to be Jack traveling through to the Monsters Inc. dimension and shooting a laser at a car before he comes back to the Incredibles universe.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. You know, there's a weird like Monsters Inc. theory.
What is it?
Like how there's the monsters in the closet. It's really just pet.
Yeah, that's scary. You want to talk about scaring a child?
And you know how they have like those containers of fear for when a child screams?
Right,
and
right.
It fills up?
Yeah.
That's like the blood that they take from the children.
What in the world?
That's what they say the movie could be based on.
That is so creepy.
I mean, they got this whole factory based around collecting fear from children. That's the whole conspiracy theory, is that they're collecting the blood of young children to inject basically into themselves.
Right, it's their fountain of youth, per se. To keep them young.
That's not even a theory. Like, people are doing that now, celebrities, and they'll openly talk about it. But they're saying it's like young blood that's like gotten naturally or normally, not from like a harvested kid from like the Philippines or something.
Yeah, those are the real monsters.
Would that make them vampires though?
They are,
I wonder if that's where vampire lore comes from.
because people were actually doing it.
Way back in the day, maybe the original creepos who started that.
And they had this theory that it would keep them young, so that's why vampires live forever.
Yeah. All like ties together. I don't know how bats play into it.
All right, let's lighten the mood here. A new anime is coming to Netflix in October. It's called Captain Laserhawk, and it is insane.
I've never even heard of this.
It's completely new. It's basically a Suicide Squad ripoff where outlaws have bombs implanted in their brain, and they have to obey these commands and do these missions, or else they'll blow them up.
Oh, so it's like being held hostage?
Yeah, and they do these missions because of that. And it's in this futuristic society, but it has the craziest cameos. The news anchor is Rayman.
From PlayStation?
Yeah.
What? Is he talking?
Yeah, he's just the news anchor basically narrating the show.
I gotta see this.
An even more bizarre cameo, one of the characters is Cody Rhodes, the pro wrestler.
WWE?
Yeah, he shows up in the trailer and he immediately dies after getting introduced.
Is he like animated or is it Cody Rhodes?
It's animated Cody Rhodes with his bleach blonde hair, his tattoos exactly in place, and tights. And he disobeys and immediately gets his brain blown up.
This could be either really good or really bad.
Well, they got me hooked from the trailer. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. All right, let's close this out with one of my favorite cartoons growing up, Yogi Bear.
Oh, it's a classic going way back.
To me, that was one of the funniest shows ever, just the way he said picnic basket.
Yeah, the picnic basket.
Yeah, but it's actually darker than you think.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not, Yogi Bear has a darker meaning behind it.
Wow, just like every cartoon.
Yeah. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo are the last males of their bear species.
Are they the last ones?
You don't see any other bears in the entire cartoon series, other than Cindy Bear, the only other female bear.
So they're endangered.
Yes, that's why they can get away with whatever they want. Yogi and Boo Boo go around basically terrorizing tourists, stealing their picnic baskets, and he always gives Ranger Smith a hard time. But the ranger never shoos them off the preserve
Or puts a bullet in them.
or relocates them. He has to deal with them because he needs those two to mate with Cindy Bear to save the bear population.
Yeah, so they can just free reign, do whatever they want.
Exactly, so all of their antics basically go unpunished.
Because they're a protected species.
The last of their kind, Yogi and Boo Boo.
And Cindy.
They gotta save the bears.
Who's gonna get her though, Yogi or Boo Boo?
Well, they need both. You can't just
Oh
have
yeah.
You can't just have one male and one female because
Yeah.
then it would be inbreeding. You gotta have both Yogi and Boo Boo mate with her.
Someone's gotta watch and be the first.
Oh jeez.
The Wentworth Bros.